Have you ever had a day where everything seemed fine? Your plans were set, your coffee was warm, the sky was clear, and then suddenly, in just one phone call, one piece of news, or one unexpected twist, everything changed? It feels like the ground beneath your feet disappears, doesn't it? One moment you're standing tall, and the next, life feels like it's spinning out of control. In today's world, unpredictability isn't the exception, it's the rule. Bills pile up when you least expect them. Work deadlines sneak up like storms. And sometimes, it's not just stress. It's heartbreak losing someone, losing direction, or even losing yourself. Modern life feels like a constant race where the finish line keeps moving farther away. And here's the paradox. The faster we run to catch up, the more exhausted and empty we feel inside. Have you noticed that? That moment when you collapse on your couch at night, scrolling on your phone, your mind restless, even though your body is tired. You wonder silently, is this what life is supposed to feel like? But here's where it gets interesting. Centuries ago, long before smartphones, emails, and rush hour traffic, the Buddha faced the same truth. Life is uncertain, messy, and often painful. Yet instead of being crushed by that reality, he discovered something extraordinary, peace in the middle of chaos. And that's exactly what I want to share with you today. Because the secret isn't to wait until life becomes perfect. The truth is, life may never be perfect. The real path is learning how to find calm, clarity, and even joy while the storm is raging around you. Think about it. The world outside may never slow down. But what if your inner world, your heart, your mind, could remain steady no matter what was happening? Imagine being able to wake up tomorrow, not with dread about what might go wrong, but with the quiet confidence that you can handle whatever comes. Buddhism calls this inner strength a kind of unshakable peace. Not the absence of problems, but the ability to face them without losing yourself. And it's not just philosophy, it's practical. Over the centuries, people have discovered lessons, tools, and wisdom from Buddhist teachings that help them navigate stress, heartbreak, and uncertainty without being consumed by them. And here's why this matters. If you can train your mind to stay calm when life gets hard, then challenges no longer break you, they shape you. Suddenly, every setback becomes a teacher, every struggle a stepping stone. So today, we're going to dive into some of the most powerful lessons from Buddhist wisdom, lessons that don't just sound good on paper, but that you can actually apply the next time life throws you off balance. Because let's be honest, the world isn't slowing down for any of us. But you don't have to live in constant reaction, fear, or stress. You can live from a place of balance, even joy. And in the next few minutes, you'll see how. But before we begin, let me ask you one simple question. What if the peace you've been searching for has been inside you all along, just waiting for you to notice it? Stay with me, because the answer might change the way you see your entire life. 1. Be gentle with yourself. Have you ever noticed that the harshest voice in your life isn't from your boss, your family, or even strangers online? It's the one that lives inside your own head. That voice that whispers, "You should have done better. You're not enough. You keep messing things up." For many of us, that voice never rests. It judges us for past mistakes. It compares us to others. It tells us we're falling behind, even when we're giving everything we have. But here's the truth. Peace never comes from punishing ourselves. The Buddha once taught that you yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. Think about that for a moment. If you spoke to a dear friend the way you often speak to yourself, would they feel loved or broken? Let me tell you a story. Years ago, I met a woman named Sarah. On the outside, she seemed successful, good career, family, and friends. But on the inside, she was crumbling. Every time she made a small mistake, she would beat herself up for days. She said, "I feel like I'm at war with myself every single morning." One day, she started a new practice. Instead of criticizing herself when she stumbled, she whispered quietly, "It's okay. I'm learning. I'm human." At first, it felt strange, almost fake. But over time, something shifted. Her shoulders relaxed. Her smile came back. And slowly, she began to treat herself like a friend, not an enemy. That's what self-compassion looks like. It's not about ignoring your mistakes. It's about meeting them with gentleness, the way a mother comforts a child who has fallen. It's about saying, "Yes, I stumbled, but I am still worthy. I am still whole." And here's the paradox. The softer we are with ourselves, the stronger we become. When we stop wasting energy on self-criticism, we find the courage to grow, to try again, and to walk through life with more peace. So let me ask you this. How do you speak to yourself when no one is listening? Do your words heal, or do they harm? Imagine if tomorrow morning, instead of starting the day with judgment, you began with compassion. Imagine looking in the mirror and saying, "I forgive myself for yesterday. I give myself permission to begin again today." That small shift, just a few gentle words, can change the entire rhythm of your day. It can change how you show up for your family, your work, and your own soul. The Buddha's wisdom reminds us, peace isn't about controlling everything outside of us. It begins in the quiet space within. And it begins with the way we choose to speak to ourselves. So maybe today, your practice doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be hours of meditation. It can be as simple as this. The next time you catch yourself being harsh, pause, take a breath, and whisper the words you most need to hear. "I am doing my best. I am worthy of kindness. I choose peace." Because when you learn to be gentle with yourself, you give the world a calmer, more compassionate version of you. And that is a gift the world deeply needs. 2. Honor your body. Take a moment. When you look in the mirror, what do you really see? For so many of us, the reflection staring back feels like a constant battle. We notice the lines, the weight, the aches that weren't there before. We criticize. We compare. We forget that this body, your body, my body, is not just skin and bone. It is a temple, a sacred home for the mind and the spirit. The Buddha once taught that the body and the mind are deeply connected. When the body is neglected, the mind suffers. And when the body is cared for with wisdom, the mind naturally becomes calm, clear, and open. Think about it. When you're exhausted from lack of sleep, doesn't everything feel heavier? The smallest problem turns into a storm. A tiny conflict feels unbearable. But when you're well-rested, nourished, and moving with ease, even challenges seem manageable. The same event, the same life, but your inner world responds so differently. Let me tell you about Anna. She worked long hours, often skipping meals, relying on coffee and sugar to push through the day. Her body began to ache. Her mind grew restless. She found herself impatient with her children, distant with her partner, and unable to focus on the things that once brought her joy. One morning, after yet another sleepless night, she broke down. She sat on the edge of her bed and whispered, "I can't keep living like this." That was the moment of awakening. She realized her body wasn't her enemy. It was her teacher. Her body was crying out, "Slow down, nourish me, respect me." And so she began small. A short walk after work. A glass of water before her morning coffee. 5 minutes of deep breathing before bed. Little by little, her energy shifted. She laughed more. She listened more. She lived more. This is the power of honoring the body as a sacred temple. Now let me ask you, how do you treat your temple? Do you push it until it collapses? Or do you listen when it whispers, so you don't have to hear it scream? Honoring your body doesn't mean chasing perfection. It means treating it with kindness. It means choosing food that truly nourishes, moving in ways that bring joy, resting when you're tired, and practicing mindfulness to reconnect body and mind. The Buddha compared the body to a chariot that carries us through life. If we break it down with neglect, how can we continue the journey with clarity? But when we care for it with wisdom, it carries us smoothly along the path to peace. So maybe today is the day to pause, to breathe, to place your hand over your heart and whisper, "This body is my temple. I will honor it." Because when the body is cared for, the mind becomes still. And in that stillness, peace is born. And peace, my friend, is the greatest gift you can give yourself and the world around you. 3. Set attainable goals. Have you ever felt the weight of your own expectations? Like setting a goal so high, so far out of reach, that instead of inspiring you, it ends up crushing you? I remember a friend of mine, Michael. He was passionate about fitness. One day he told himself, "From tomorrow, I'll run 10 miles every morning." The first day, he pushed through. The second day, his body ached. By the third day, he quit completely, and instead of feeling proud of even trying, he carried shame, as if failing at this one goal meant he wasn't good enough. Isn't that how many of us live? We either overreach, chasing something that burns us out, or we go to the other extreme, giving up too soon, drifting without direction. The Buddha called this the middle way. Not too tight, not too loose, not extreme discipline that suffocates, and not careless neglect that leads nowhere. When we set goals that are attainable, something shifts inside us. Instead of climbing a mountain in one impossible leap, we take steady steps, and each step gives us a taste of success. Each step builds confidence. Think about it this way. Imagine planting a seed. You don't shout at it to grow into a tree overnight. You water it, give it sunlight, protect it from storms. Slowly, steadily, it rises. That's how our goals should be planted, nurtured, allowed to grow at their natural pace. So what does this look like in real life? If your goal is to meditate daily, don't start with an hour. Start with 5 minutes. 5 minutes that you can actually keep. When you succeed, you'll want to add more. If your goal is better health, don't cut every food you love overnight. Begin by drinking more water or adding one healthier meal a day. Step by step, goal by goal. Progress, not perfection. The Buddha once said, "Little by little, a person becomes good, as a water jar is filled drop by drop." I love this image, because it reminds us great change doesn't happen in a moment of force, but in many small, consistent moments of care. Now, ask yourself, where in your life are you holding goals that secretly weigh you down? Where have you promised yourself more than your body, your heart, or your mind can carry? What if, instead of punishing yourself with unreachable dreams, you gifted yourself goals that honor your humanity? The truth is, every goal you set is not just about the achievement itself, it's about the person you become along the way. And if your goals are too big, too harsh, you might become someone heavy with regret. But if your goals are wise, compassionate, and attainable, you become someone steady, resilient, and at peace. So today, take a moment, look at the dreams you're holding, and ask, can I take one step instead of 10? Can I walk the middle way? Because in the end, happiness is not in the speed of reaching the peak, but in the steady joy of every step that takes you there. 4. Embrace change. Have you ever noticed how quickly life can shift? One day everything feels steady. Your job is secure. Your relationships are familiar. Your routines feel safe. And then without warning, something changes. A company downsizes. A relationship drifts apart. A chapter you never wanted to end suddenly does. And in those moments, our first instinct is often to resist. We cling to the way things were. We fight against the current of life, hoping if we just hold on tightly enough, nothing will slip away. But here's the truth. The harder we resist, the more we suffer. The Buddha once taught that life itself is impermanence. Everything we love, everything we know, is always moving, always changing. And our peace comes not from controlling change, but from embracing it. Let me share a story. A friend of mine, Daniel, had worked at the same company for 15 years. It was his identity, his pride, his stability. But one morning, he was called into an office and told his role no longer existed. He left the building with a cardboard box in his hands and a storm of fear in his heart. What would he do now? Who was he without that job? For weeks he spiraled, resisting what had already happened. He told me, "I feel like a tree being cut down." But then, something shifted. Instead of seeing himself as a tree cut down, he chose to see himself as bamboo, flexible, bending with the wind, never breaking. That single change in perspective allowed him to step into a new path. He pursued work he had once been too afraid to try. And today, he says losing that job was the moment that gave him his life back. So let me ask you, how many times in your own life have you fought against change, only to realize later that it led you to growth? Maybe a painful breakup led you to discover self-love. Maybe losing something you clung to opened the door to something better. The Buddha's teaching of the middle way reminds us not to cling too tightly and not to drift carelessly either. Instead, we walk a balanced path, meeting change with open eyes and an open heart. When we resist, we suffer. When we embrace, we grow. Think about water. When it flows around rocks, it doesn't fight. It adapts, it bends, it finds a way forward. And yet, over time, water shapes even the hardest stone. This is the power of embracing change. It makes us resilient, not rigid. Now, embracing change doesn't mean it won't hurt. It doesn't mean we never feel fear or grief. It means we learn to carry those feelings with compassion instead of letting them chain us to the past. It means saying to life, "I trust you, even when I don't understand you." So the next time life shifts under your feet, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, what if this change isn't here to break me, but to shape me? What if this ending is just the beginning of a deeper, wiser version of myself? Because every change, whether welcomed or not, is a teacher. And if we have the courage to listen, we might just find that what we thought was the end is actually the doorway to our greatest growth. 5. Mindfulness and positive outlook. Have you ever thought of your mind as a garden? Imagine it for a moment. Every thought, every emotion, every reaction you have is like a seed planted in the soil of your heart. If you constantly water seeds of anger, worry, or regret, what do you think will grow? A tangled forest of suffering. But if you choose to plant seeds of mindfulness and positivity, the garden within you becomes a place of peace, beauty, and hope. And the truth is, this is not just a poetic idea. It's a practice. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman I once met, let's call her Sarah. On the surface, she seemed to have everything: a stable job, a family, a good home. But inside, her mind was always restless. She replayed old mistakes from the past. She worried constantly about what might go wrong tomorrow. Even when she was surrounded by love, she felt absent, distracted, never fully present. One day, she came across a simple Buddhist teaching. The mind is everything. What you think, you become. It struck her. If her mind was always occupied with regret and fear, no wonder she felt so heavy. So, she decided to try something small. Every morning, before opening her phone or rushing into her routine, she sat quietly for just 5 minutes. She breathed deeply, and with each breath, she repeated to herself, "May I be present, may I be grateful, may I see the beauty in today." At first, nothing seemed to change. But slowly, almost like watching a seed sprout, her mind began to shift. She noticed the warmth of sunlight on her skin. She smiled more often at her children. Instead of dreading her work, she focused on the moments of connection, the laughter and small breaks, the simple joy of doing her best. The garden within her was blooming. And that's what mindfulness and positivity do. They don't erase our struggles. They don't magically remove pain, but they transform the way we experience life. They teach us to live fully in this present moment where life is actually happening. The Buddha once said, "Do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment." This teaching is not about ignoring reality. It's about shifting how we relate to it. Because the present moment, when embraced with awareness, is always manageable. Think about your own life. How much of your energy goes into regretting what is already past? How much is lost worrying about things that haven't even happened yet? What if, even for a few breaths each day, you chose instead to nurture gratitude, kindness, and hope? Just like Sarah, you might begin to notice small shifts. A calmer heart, a lighter step, a smile that comes more naturally. So here's a gentle challenge for you. Tomorrow morning, before the noise of the day begins, pause for a moment. Breathe. Look around. Find one small thing to be grateful for, and silently plant that seed in your mind. Because the garden of your heart is always waiting for you. What grows there depends on what you choose to nurture. And remember, mindfulness and positivity are not just practices. They are gifts you give yourself every single day. 6. Cultivate gratitude. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to focus on what we lack rather than what we already have? There's always something: more money, better health, a different job, a bigger house. Our mind loves to chase after what's missing. But here's the truth. When we live that way, happiness is always somewhere else. Out there, never here. Let me tell you about Sarah. She's a woman I met years ago, a hardworking mother of 2. Every day felt like a struggle for her, juggling bills, work, and family. She was constantly drained. But one morning, she tried something new. Instead of rushing straight into her worries, she sat with a notebook and wrote down 3 small things she was grateful for. The warmth of her coffee, the sound of her kids laughing in the other room, the fact that she had another day to try again. At first, it felt silly to her, too simple. But over time, something began to shift. Her challenges didn't disappear, but her heart grew lighter. She wasn't just surviving anymore, she was noticing beauty in the middle of her chaos. That's the power of gratitude. Buddha once taught, "Let us rise up and be thankful, for if we didn't learn a lot today, at least we learned a little." This wisdom reminds us that gratitude isn't about ignoring pain or pretending life is perfect. It's about choosing to see that even within hardship, there is still something to hold on to, something that can give us strength. Think about it: the smile of a stranger, the hug of someone you love, the comfort of food on your table. These are not small things. They are reminders that life is offering us gifts, moment by moment. But so often, we rush past them, blind to the treasures right in front of us. Gratitude changes everything. It transforms difficulties into lessons. It turns ordinary moments into sacred ones. It even turns joy into fulfillment. Without gratitude, happiness feels temporary, fragile. But with gratitude, happiness becomes rooted, steady, unshakable. I want to ask you, what's one small thing today that you can be thankful for? Maybe it's the fact that you're breathing, that you made it through another day, that you still have the chance to grow, to love, to live. For me, I've found that gratitude works like a lens. Imagine putting on glasses that suddenly make the blurry world clear. The problems are still there, but now you can see more clearly. You notice the sunlight breaking through the clouds. You notice the helping hand you almost overlooked. Sarah, the mother I mentioned earlier, told me something that stayed with me. She said, "I used to wake up asking, 'Why me?' Now I wake up asking, 'What can I be thankful for today?' And somehow, everything feels different." And she was right. Gratitude doesn't erase the storms, but it gives us the strength to walk through them without losing our smile. So, my friend, as you listen to these words, I invite you to pause. Take one deep breath. Look around you. Is there something right now that you can be thankful for? Hold on to it. Let it warm your heart. Because when gratitude lives in you, life itself becomes a gift. Conclusion. Peace. It's something we all search for, isn't it? But here's the truth. Peace is not something you stumble upon in the outside world. It's not hidden in wealth, in success, or even in the approval of others. The Buddha reminds us that peace arises from within, from the way we care for our body, from the way we protect and nurture our mind, from the way we allow our heart to open. Think about it. When was the last time you truly felt calm? Maybe it wasn't during a vacation or after buying something new. Maybe it was in a simple, ordinary moment, taking a slow breath, sipping a warm cup of tea, or hearing someone you love laugh. That's where real peace lives. In the everyday. When we learn to take care of ourselves gently, without pressure, we build a foundation. Taking a mindful walk, eating with presence, resting when our body whispers for rest. These aren't small acts. They are the seeds of peace. And when storms of life come, and they always will, these seeds protect us. Instead of being swept away, we stand rooted. We see change not as an enemy, but as part of the rhythm of life. We see challenges not as punishment, but as teachers in disguise. Most of all, we learn the power of gratitude. Because gratitude transforms everything. When you pause and notice a smile, a sunrise, or even the gift of being alive right now, something shifts inside. The ordinary becomes extraordinary, and suffering becomes bearable, because you see even pain as part of the larger story. Buddhist wisdom shows us, if we water these seeds, self-care, patience, acceptance, kindness, and gratitude, then even in the middle of chaos, we will carry light. And that light will guide not only us, but those around us. So, maybe tonight, before you sleep, ask yourself, what is one thing I'm grateful for today? What is one small way I can care for myself tomorrow? You'll be surprised how these little steps create a ripple, how they slowly, quietly change the way you move through life. And maybe as you're listening right now, someone's face appears in your mind. Someone you love. Someone who might need to hear this reminder too. If so, share this with them. It could be the light they've been waiting for. And if this message has touched something in your heart, stay close. This space is for you. For all of us walking this path together, So, whenever you're ready, you can return here, because the journey of peace never really ends. The Buddha once said, "Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without." And maybe that's the most powerful reminder we could carry into tomorrow.